Good afternoon, everyone. We might still give about 30 seconds for our audience to join. We are very, very excited to be here today. So thank you so much for coming and listening and possibly engaging with this important topic. I might just proceed, if that's okay. Welcome. Today's webinar, this wonderful lunch webinar, I hope everyone is well equipped with, some kind of brown bag lunch with them. We really are going to talk about a topic that is very close to our hearts, but that is also very close to the business line of everything that we do. And together with me today, there is Harriet Pope from IKEA and Carmen Garcia from Community Corporate. And my name is Bettina Shkodlarek. I'm from the University of Sydney Business School. And the three of us have been very heavily engaged in the topic of refugee workforce integration. And today we really are going to very much try to show the highlights of what employing refugees could mean for you and your business. And while we have, a number of slides and different perspectives on the topic, we really are keen to respond to as many questions as you might be having. So I might just share my screen and very briefly introduce why companies should care and what's in it for everyone. But of course, before I proceed, I need to acknowledge the tradition of custodianship and law of the country in which we stand. I am today at the Gadigal and on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. And I, of course, always pay my respect to the elders, the past, present, and emerging. So thank you all for joining us. And moving to the topic, why do we care? Why are we here today? We have looked for a number of years into this particular topic of refugee employment. And what we realized is that it's shocking, surprising, what's the economic and business case for refugee employment. Deloitte a few years ago, probably about 2-3 years ago, did a beautiful report in which they analyzed the numbers. And they basically concluded that if Australia was to increase the intakes of refugees, we would boost our economy by 5 billion annually. So the case is just so compelling and really a no-brainer for anyone considering. But what we noticed when we looked at the outcomes of employment for refugees is what we call the qualification paradox, which means the more qualified, skilled, and experienced refugees are, the more difficult it is for them to find employment. And that's how we engage and realize that as opposed to many other group of job seekers, refugees face a whole range of challenges. This could be linked to recognition of their qualifications, the lack of local references, of course, no Australian job background. And we label that as a canvas ceiling to employment that they face and that they need to overcome. We noticed also that there is a lot that we know about the experiences of refugees, but what is missing is really the employer's perspective. So that's where we came in, and that's when we started initially a research project that was commissioned by the federal government, where we look at the employer's perspective, those employers in Australia who actually have previously hired refugees. And what we saw from this particular research was the fact that, first of all, it's the influential person within the organization that quite often start the project. So many employers respond to the corporate social responsibility and business case, but quite often the entry comes from an influential staff member. And that could be you. Quite often that's someone in the HR role who can convince others about why this makes a difference. And when it comes to the benefit and why it makes a difference, we were absolutely, surprised and impressed with how highly all the employers in our sample, those who hired refugees, how highly they valued the benefits that they were receiving from hiring refugees. And there is a business case, there is the social responsibility case, there is the purpose that the organization is gaining, there is access to an extremely valuable pool of hires. And those, again, results that you see in this graph, this whole range of red bars shows you the very undeniable set of benefits employers saw. And these are not really the subsidies or the governmental support. Most of the employers said, we really couldn't care less about the incentives. What we are gaining is an extremely valuable workforce and a workplace that thrives because of the commitment that we put into refugee employment. Here are just a few quotes, and I might just, read out the top one. It is personally rewarding and motivating to staff to know that they are making a difference in someone's life by hiring a refugee. And this shows that beyond the business case, beyond the CSR case, there is the internal commitment of staff, which gives them purpose and feel much more committed to the current workplace that they are in. What is, however, interesting about the employer's perspective, and that's where Harriet and Carmen's perspective is going to come in, is that the role of service providers, such as community corporate, was absolutely critical to success. Many employers used service providers, and quite a few of them engage in a whole suite of services that service providers could offer. And here again, this graph shows how satisfied employers were with those different forms of support that service providers could give them. You see 100% satisfaction on identifying and supplying the right job candidates. And this is what companies invest thousands, if not millions of dollars every year, how to recruit a skilled, valuable workforce. Good service providers were key to the success in refugee recruitment, but they can provide a whole range of other services. So the lower bars you see in here is not necessarily because people weren't satisfied, but because they haven't used a given form of support. Some, for example, had their internal cross-cultural training and didn't need to use a service provider. Now, I'm going to move to the final slide of my presentation, which is why then why do employers with so many benefits do not hire? And as many of them said, is that they either haven't, sought to recruit for any particular group, or the idea simply hasn't come up. And that's why we come here today, because we would like to give the idea to you, but also give you very specific steps to do next. If you would like to engage more after today's presentation, please do send us an email. We will be here. We will be sharing this information with you via email as well. And together with the information, we will also share our employer's guide to refugee employment. So a little bit of a kind of tiny publication that will help you to start if you wanted to start your journey to refugee recruitment. I'll stop now and I'll pass on to my wonderful colleague, Carmen, who is going to tell about how she does all the magic with employers.
Thanks, Bettina. I'd also like to acknowledge today I'm here on the Ghana land on the Adelaide Plains, and I pay respect to our elders past, present and emerging. Hoping you can see my screen. I also just want to thank the Australian HR Institute for giving us this platform. I think these kind of conversations are really important. So we're really grateful that you've taken your lunch break to sit here and talk to us about the potential that does reside amongst our refugees. So as Bettina mentioned, we're a service provider, essentially. We like to call ourselves implementation partners. When you do look at this amazing guide that Bettina and the team have developed, it really does emphasize the collaborative approach. And that's really how we see our role. Partnerships are our priority at Community Corporate. We are proudly a certified social enterprise. And it's really about how we can bring employers' ideas and vision to life in really developing their own customized employer-led program to support refugees. So ultimately, the way I do describe ourselves to many corporates is we're a recruitment company with a social conscience, but essentially we are refugee advocates. And we know, as Bettina mentioned, that employment contribution is so important to their purpose and well-being and genuine settlement in Australia. So the motivators for us at Community Corporate ultimately are, I think it was the Australian Institute of Family Studies that said 75% unemployment rate remains for refugees after 2 years of arrival. And for us, that is just not acceptable. We know the way that the government budgets or just makes decisions on how many refugees or humanitarian migrants they can take into the country. It is an economic business case. So being able to demonstrate refugees are an asset to this country, not a financial burden, is absolutely what motivates us. A lot of employers, and you're all HR practitioners on the webinar, we all say we hire for attitude, but then everyone has a big long merit list of the things that they have to tick. And for some refugees that don't have those local recognised qualifications, or they don't have local experience, as Bettina highlighted, they don't tick the box and they don't really get considered, and that is the reality. So for us, we hope our model and partnership with employers can really generate that hope, reward and opportunity for our newest Australians to really feel part of the community. So how can we help? Well, I'll just give you our approach, but there are many service providers in the industry that can offer customised support to employers at different levels. And you'll see a lot of these featured in the employer's guide that Bettina mentioned. Our approach, an employer-led approach, is really about creating those strategic alliances, ensuring that businesses have a safety net and we can actually demonstrate value. We don't want this to be something that's just seen as an extra or charity jobs. We actually want to add value to your talent pipeline and demonstrate that it's just about challenging conventional thinking in the way you might recruit and consider or assess a refugee's skills and expertise as being good for your business. As Bettina mentioned, the subsidies are not a key driver for employers, but being able to navigate systems, understanding how to remove barriers and access subsidies for refugees, such as, getting all those security clearances, police checks, any PPE, any additional training that they might need, is something that service providers can support employers with. Like most government, regulation and systems, it's often quite complex, but we know how to pull the policy levers and make this easy for you. So it is about cutting red tape, saving on those recruitment costs and helping to reduce risk, to take a chance and give a refugee an opportunity to really demonstrate their capacity beyond the pages of a resume. This is just a quick diagram of our 6-step model. Many features are similar with a lot of service providers, but for us, an employer-led, a really big piece is that workforce planning upfront. Understanding where the talent is required and the specificity of that. As you know, in Sydney, many of our refugees have settled into Western Sydney and the Liverpool, Fairfield area. We've got amazing jobs for them in Bankstown or in DY or in Northern Beaches. I'm from Adelaide, so I think that's right. But they can't travel because many refugees have one car per household. So that level of detail of accessibility and really understanding if they're a right match is a key part of what we would do in supporting our employers to finding the right candidates for them. We do all the sourcing, screening, like any recruitment practitioner on the call, the due diligence, the language literacy, numeracy, digital assessments, but it's also that values piece and really finding candidates that not only have the skills, but they have the desire to work for your company. And there's other ways that people can assess either on the job work placements, which Harriet will talk to a bit more in the way IKEA's implemented their customised model, but also some people go straight into an interview. The key thing about implementation partners and our model is that we're on a journey with you. It's not about, set and release. It's really about ongoing support in that collaborative approach, knowing that both the employer and the candidate are supported, have advocates, and we can problem solve together. The key thing I always say to my team is we can't fix a secret, but everything else we absolutely can. Woolworths is one of our largest employers. We've placed probably at the end of the month about 250 refugees across various brands in the Woolworths group. And as you can see here, they're committed to bringing a little good to everyone every day. And they absolutely have in this example. We can see they're exceeding retention rates at over 90% at 6 months, and it's sitting just under about 86% at 12 months retention. But what's important as well when we talk to our refugees is this is about a career. It's not just about a job. And a company like Woolworths has created pathways for other refugees to really meet their career aspirations. We have an amazing example with one of our Syrian single mothers, Galia, who did come to Australia with a qualification in finance, but she really struggled to get her foot in the door. So she decided to take the opportunity, work for Woolworths, build local networks, increase her confidence in English and study part-time to get a local qualification. Once she completed this, we were able to get her a secondment into the Woolworths payroll and finance team, where she gained local experience. And recently we found that she's going to one of the big four in a finance administrative role. So, you know, the journey for our refugees really does start with an employer investing in them and giving them that chance just to open the door to opportunity. You know, everyone's talking now about the war on talent. I know people don't like to use the word war, but that's what we're saying. And I just thought I'd share this little example of the way that, you know, collaboration is key for hiring refugees. We're launching Refugee Digital Cadetships in 2022. And it's about how we could do it differently, genuinely through that collaboration. So it's no surprise to all of you, the digital economy is going to be key to Australia's economic future and that recovery from COVID. And the government's estimated about 250,000 new jobs need to be created by digitalisation in 2025. And so we were really fortunate to be approached by ServiceNow, who you would know, American-based global cloud computing company, who ran a successful trial in the UK to support refugees who had those overseas qualifications and or experience, but when they arrived to their new host country, they weren't recognised and they were able to get into that particular industry. So what they're committing to do is really develop that industry augmented training to leverage the skills that refugees do bring to Australia that we absolutely desperately need, making sure they're contemporised and at the Australian standards that we're looking for. And then we're seeking employers to then host and assess them on the job to be able to really give them that local experience. Most of the time you'll end up keeping them, and I think Harriet's going to talk to that because, you know, they really do demonstrate a huge asset to businesses, but it's also really about helping them on that career journey, and that local experience is absolutely critical to really, you know, verify that their skills are what we need in Australia. So, you know, I just really wanted to, I guess, emphasize that, you know, one job does make a difference. And as we've discussed and seen lately in many of our discussions with Harriet and Bettina, you know, important to start small and build from there and really get a model that works for you. You know, we all have those current challenges in recruitment across every industry. And, you know, I'd argue they've got nothing to lose by investing in a refugee to see if we can unleash their potential. This is a picture of Brahane. Brahane was born in Eritrea. He's actually been a refugee 3 times. He fled to the refugee camp. Then he settled in Saudi Arabia, where he then had to separate from his family. And he took his 3 younger siblings to India through a student visa and was raising them at the age of 17. He then finally got himself to Brisbane, and he had completed a Bachelor of Computer Applications in India, but again, it wasn't recognised here. So we were able to get him a placement with Brisbane City Council, where he still works now as an IT analyst. And we worked with Brahane, you know, probably 2017, and I actually got a text message from him, WhatsApp message from him on the weekend saying his parents finally got their visa. They're going to be reunited after 13 years with their children, and, you know, thanked me because being able to make a business case that he has a great job in Brisbane Council to be able to sponsor his parents made such a difference. We made it happen through a job, and I just think understanding all the intangible benefits and return on investment by giving someone that employment opportunity is really, really massive. So I think we need to get started because we need to bust myths on visas. Many companies assume that because they're a migrant or humanitarian migrant, the word migrant, oh, we have to sponsor them. No, every refugee that arrives on a humanitarian migrant visa is actually a permanent resident. Many of them that have those tertiary qualifications looking at that talent pipeline have studied in English, and their English proficiency is great. It's about confident conversational English. And that takes practice and engagement within the community with buddies and mentors in the workplace. We need to demonstrate that this really does work in practice, and we can create a meaningful experience not only for the refugee but for the employer company. And you'll again hear from Harriet that the benefits are well beyond an economic dividend. There's such a return on investment socially and consciously for everyone that's involved in the support of bringing companies' values to life. We need people to champion and drive scale and sustainability. influencing the conversation, just leading by example, having your own personal stories to tell is going to make a really big difference. As you'll see, the stories that are highlighted in our guide, you know, one job in BGIS absolutely made a difference to them in the way they've now seen the potential of refugees that would typically never apply for their jobs, but through a partnership with us, we can help identify the transferability of skills that would really fit their business. And ultimately, I just think we need to do it better. Remember, Australia was always built on migration, and our future is going to be reliant on migration as well. So just a quick kind of summary, I guess, of, you know, corporate leadership. It really is about doing it differently with meaning. We know there's so many refined systems and processes, but if we really want to think about, is refugee recruitment a missing piece to your workforce plan, then it is about being open to challenging conventional practices. You know, that higher for attitude values alignment that we talked about is obviously really important. And for companies that genuinely believe in it, we have to look at different ways of helping refugees get the same opportunities and still win jobs on merit. It's about getting a real return on your investment. Not only do you get an amazing, loyal, reliable, skilled team member, but the intergenerational impact that's going to have by creating more champions and changing that statistic of 75% unemployment is really a massive contribution to society. You know, collaboration and customization is obviously key, and this is what we've, you know, discovered in our work together collaboratively, that it's not a one size fits all. It is about taking a bit of time up front to really explain what you need, what you're looking for, and then set people like us, the partners, to bring it to life and help activate it for you in partnership. Remembering that work does give that purpose and belonging well beyond a paycheck, and unlocking the potential to drive your dollar even further by investing in refugee recruitment. So finally, I just really wanted to say that, you know, transforming lives through work, one job at a time, really does make an impact. And this is the delightful Silva. You know, she's never worked ever in her life, not even back home. And, you know, she was freaking out about having to get into the workforce and, you know, government making her apply for jobs, but finding the right employer that gives them that safe and welcoming first experience, demonstrates that they really want them, is so much more than a job. It is about belonging and enabling them to really kickstart their new life in Australia. So thank you so much. And here's my details. We'll send it to you later. Happy to have a conversation. Thank you so much. I'm now going to pass over to the lovely Harriet, the National Project Lead for IKEA, to tell you about our collaboration there as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carmen and Bettina. It's always such a pleasure to present alongside you amazing women. So yes, I'm Harriet. I'm the project leader for IKEA Australia's Skills for Employment program. I sit in the people and culture team there, and I'm coming to you today from Quandamooka country near Mianjin in Brisbane, and I too would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land. Okay. So I'm sure most of you have heard of us. Hopefully you've been to one of our big blue boxes, as we affectionately call them. And I guess what you probably know is that we're a large format retailer, but what you might not know is that we are a purpose-driven organisation with a pretty clear and simple vision, which is, as you see here, to create a better everyday life for the many people. And this vision comes to life for us through our product range, through our culture and values, and through some long-standing commitments that we have to try and positively impact society and the planet. And one of the ways we want to do this is through refugee employment initiatives. So we're on a bit of a mission globally and nationally to change the narrative, to push through these negative misconceptions that Carmen and Bettina have spoken about, by really highlighting the value that refugees and asylum seekers bring to their new host communities. So I'm really happy to be able to share some information on our program here today, some of the learnings and outcomes, and also the real importance that we place on partnerships such as the partnership we have with Community Corporate and with the University of Sydney. So as part of a global initiative, IKEA Australia has committed to supporting 180 people from refugee and asylum seeker backgrounds over 3 years. Our program is centred around 8-week paid work placements in operational areas in our stores and in our distribution centre, so in roles like sales, logistics, customer relations, and in our restaurants. All our participants are contracted on a fixed term basis for 8 weeks, 30 hours per fortnight as a minimum, and they have full entitlements under our enterprise agreement. We are trying to help them overcome barriers by strengthening employment pathways through providing what is essentially an introduction to the Australian workplace, obviously an introduction to IKEA ways of working, to build on the skills that they already bring and to build some English confidence where that might be needed. There's definitely a structured onboarding process. A buddy is really critical in this as well. And there's clear goals to focus on each week as they progress through their paid placement with us. And at the end of this, they are able to apply for existing vacancies with IKEA. But I do want to stress today that this is not a recruitment initiative per se. It really is about strengthening employment pathways wherever that may be. And essentially, we're trying to help create a bridge between the situation that these amazing people find themselves in through no fault of their own and where we know they've got the potential to be. So how do we make this all happen? Look, I want to say up front, we are not refugee employment experts, which is why we have partnered with Community Corporate, who are. They've co-designed our program. They've walked side by side with us over the last 18 months as we've brought it to life together. Carmen and her team have really invested in understanding our business, our culture, and that means they're really well positioned to then source and screen our participants. And that's based on alignment with our values, which for any organisation is obviously really important, but also around confident conversational English, we describe it as, and of course, a motivation to work. They also have created and deliver a customised cultural awareness training for our line managers and buddies. And this is just so important in helping us create the conditions for our new refugee co-workers to thrive. And of course, our buddies are really pivotal people as they become trusted confidants for our participants during their time with us. And so it's important that they feel confident in their own cultural competence. So this is a key part of our preparation with Community Corporate. Any challenges that might pop up along the way, we navigate together. And I guess I think about the example of the Afghan humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan. And, of course, when the news unfolded around that, Community Corporate were absolutely there to help guide us and understand how we could best support anybody that might be affected by that within the business. And it is, important to note that 25% of our participants do, in fact, have Afghan cultural backgrounds. We've also partnered with the University of Sydney and Bettina on some really unique research that aims to improve the experiences of everyone involved in refugee employment. And of course, we are absolutely honoured to be included in the new Employer's Guide to Refugee Employment that Bettina mentioned earlier as well. But fundamentally, it's really our shared objectives that drive these relationships, and it is incredibly energising that we have these common desires for quality outcomes, I would say, on a personal level as well. So over the last 12 months, we have been able to welcome 79 amazing participants and people into our 10 stores across the country. They're a really diverse group, ranging from 18 to 63 years old, 19 different cultural backgrounds across Asia, Africa, Middle East and Europe. And of course, they all bring very different knowledge, experience and skills with them. As I mentioned, the core objective is to strengthen employment pathways, but we're really gratified that we were able to offer 82% of them ongoing roles with us so far, and we're still on the way with that. As I mentioned, there's no KPI, but of these people, almost 90% are in fact still with us today, which is just a fantastic outcome. And where we're not able to progress someone into the business after the placement, that's where Community Corporate will then scoop them up and help transition into other work opportunities or study. So that's obviously a really vital part of our plan as well. We have been fortunate to see some really great co-worker engagement. So internally, we have now 100 or over 100 buddies and line managers who've been directly involved in the program so far. But we've also been really conscious of bringing all the other 3,500 co-workers that we have around the country on the journey with us. And we are seeing, as I said, some fantastic internal engagement. We share regular updates through our different communication channels, and every time we do this, we can really see the sense of pride that this is generating among our people. So the data that we've been able to get through the university research and also through surveys of our own and through community corporate really helps us get a true sense of really multi-dimensional benefits of the program. And we can see very much a story of mutual reward starting to emerge. For our participants, they are telling us that this is just so much more than a work placement for them. It's a chance to connect with local community, and that might be for the first time in some instances when we think about the protracted lockdowns that have been happening over the last sort of 18 months or so. A chance for them to establish their own financial freedom, pay taxes, contribute to society, and these things all contribute to a real boost in self-confidence and hope for the future. For our co-workers, they are telling us not only are they building more cultural awareness and competence, but also they're acquiring new mentoring and communication skills and a renewed sense of purpose in their daily work, which is great to hear. For our customers, well, most or all of our participants speak 2, 3 or 4 languages apart from English. So, instantly there are some connections there for our many customers, particularly in our more diverse neighbourhoods, and a deeper understanding of what their life at home looks like. And of course, we are all about life at home. So massive benefits to be had there for our customers. So as a business, we've essentially unearthed a whole new talent pool of really motivated, loyal, resilient and adaptable people. And it is early days, but we are definitely seeing early indications of lower turnover and lower absenteeism in this cohort as well. So we're of course going to be watching that closely from here. We love a quote. So finally, I wanted to just share some firsthand themes that are coming through. You can see here Tenzin, who's the most incredible Tibetan man who joined our team or joined the program in IKEA Roads and then actually was picked up by Marsden Park as a permanent co-worker after the program. He wrote a very powerful letter about his experience and how he felt about the program, and this theme that he's talked about, this bridge, is definitely one that really shines through. So he says, through this program, a bridge is truly built. It opened the door, and the most important one, a door that brought me hope and opportunity. Powerful stuff. And then Amber, one of our buddies, has said that her new co-worker is bringing a fresh insight and energy into their team. And Charmaine, one of our line managers, who's now welcomed, I think, 4 participants into various teams that she has led over the last 18 months. She says, we provided an opportunity to a person in need, and he turned this into something permanent through his work ethic, his commitment, and his growth mindset. What an asset. So we're definitely on our way. There's a lot more to be done though, and I do want to acknowledge that there's some incredible other work happening out there, and many other employers are engaging in this too and making their own commitments. We're just one small example. We want to learn from others who are further along the path, so if that's you, I would love to hear from you. And we know that there's plenty of potential that sits in the group today too, so wherever we can, we would love to support you with what we've learned so far as well, so that really together we can change the narrative. Thank you so much. And I think now we're going to go to a Q&A. So I'll just stop sharing my screen.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Harriet and Carmen, for sharing your insights. I know we are slightly over time, so our apologies for that. As you can hear, we're overexcited about this topic. And also, I would like to stress, I put down in the chat the email address. We are just running a new project in which we are trying to hear from employers who haven't hired refugees before. And we are again working with the government, trying to advance solutions to what is that you need and how we can help you. So if you would love to engage and learn more about hiring refugees, please reach out and via this email address. And we will be very keen to first of all, learn from you what you think you might need, but also help you advancing your strategies for your business, for your particular situation. Because as Carmen says, every business, every situation is different. There was a question to Harriet. Harriet, I see you are typing, but I'll just read it out and you can respond. Do you receive training prior to partnering with a new refugee hire?
Yes, thank you so much, Kylie. Yes, they do indeed. And this is really embedded in the cultural awareness training that Carmen and her team provide. So that's a very comprehensive sort of half day interactive for lots of information that's shared too. And that's about building confidence so that people can really feel great and well prepared going into the program. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Harriet. If there are any other questions, please, I'm saying, do type them in or send them to us via email. And each one of us, all three of us, are really available to answer any other questions you might be having at any stage. So don't hesitate to reach out to us, because as you can see, we are here to spread the passion that we found and realizing, how the businesses can benefit, but also how much satisfaction in some way it gives to know that we can do something that meaningful in lives of others. So we again thank you for the privilege of being given the opportunity to speak to you. Thank you so much, Ellen and the team at the Australian HR Institute. And we hope that this is just the beginning of your journey to refugee employment. And we look forward to hearing from you hopefully soon, since I don't see any other new question coming at the moment. Thank you all, and have a wonderful evening. And we look forward to hearing from you whenever you get the time to digest all this amount of information we gave you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.